Okay, that did turn off that time, so I'm going to have to make a second little clip here. It's important for us also to talk about the ability to cope with stress and adapt to change, and this will be the last part of the lecture, I think. So this is a discussion really about how life events affect us as human beings, and life events happen to all human beings. So if you think about a child, a life event could be a family vacation, or the loss of a grandparent, or a car accident, or moving to a new school. Well, as we look at that concept of life events over the lifespan, there is a degree of stress that is attached to every sort of change in life that we must adapt to. And we do this as human beings, just along and along throughout our lives. We experience change. It's strange to us. It causes a little bit of higher stress level, but then we kind of adapt to it, and our stress goes down, and we continue to live our life until another life change happens. Well, there's a very famous inventory called the Life Events Inventory, I think it's called. And let's see, I think that's the name of it. I'm sorry I don't have that right in front of me. But anyway, I have it in my folder though. It's called the Social Readjustment Rating Scale. Okay, so what we're wanting to think about here is that how well do senior adults cope with stress and change? And so if you take that whole idea of the life events inventory that I was just discussing, it's a list of events. A lot of the high stress events that require adaptation to change occur in later life. So things like death of a spouse, death of a sibling, change in living situation, change in financial status, change in health status, a serious health event. When you think about those kinds of things, those sorts of life changes that are perceived and measured to be quite stressful for human beings, a lot of those occur to seniors. They happen in seniors' lives. So this is a way for researchers to measure senior adults and how well they adapt and how much stress they have to experience in their lives. Well, interestingly, as this research, it has been followed up on, and stressful life events have been rescaled. So this measurement device has been adapted through time. It hasn't remained the same, and it seems like there's a test question related to that. So let's see, I've said that notably many of the larger life stressors occur in old age, and even though the measurements of life events have changed with generations, it's notable how many changes do affect older adults. I think I've talked about that enough. I think you get that point. So, however, this is important, very much it is true that the individual's reaction to stress has a large impact on how stress affects him or her. So if you think about the ladies that we met in our classroom, it would certainly be true that they've had many life events occur. I remember one of the ladies was a widow, and so it's not as though she hasn't had these significant life events happen to her, but I think each one of those ladies had a pretty positive view of looking at their lives. They didn't try to gloss over that getting old was challenging, but they chose to look at life events in a way that probably made them easier to adjust to. All right, let's see the effect of someone's their reaction to stress. The effect of that can speed up aging. So, for example, if you have 100 people on one side of a research study, and most of them seem to really be responding to stressful life events with a more positive attitude, or they may also have a temperament, just a personal makeup that is not as anxious. They are going to age more successfully than 100 other people in a research study who maybe have a temperament that is more anxious, that is more apt to have negative beliefs, or even to feel depressed. Those types of persons will age more quickly. So that's kind of interesting when you think about stress and adaptation and life events. That's kind of that whole area that we were trying to discuss. So let's look lastly at how other people view seniors. How do kids view senior adults? How do college students view senior adults? And where do they get those ideas? Where do they get their attitudes? Well, when children are studied, they do seem to continually report their perceptions of older adults as seeing losses. So they might say, oh, older adults, they can't hear very well. Or my grandmother, she's slow when she walks and she has to use a cane. Her legs don't work very well. So kids are going to make more commentary about sort of an attitude of decrement, is what this is called in our language. So that's a loss of physical capacity. And children, very much learn this from media, just like we would. So in terms of their actual life experience, though, with senior adults, if they can be exposed to seniors, either in their extended family or in their neighborhood or in an organization that they might belong to or their family might belong to, just having exposure and ability to get to know seniors on a deeper level than just what you see, somebody who walks with a cane, helps children have a more positive attitude about what elderly adults are like and what their lives are like. College students, when studied, were not exactly like children. They had more mixed results, a more balanced view, and that makes sense because college students would have lived longer and had more broad experiences of senior adults. And so they do share with children some of this perceiving of older adults in that decrement model or loss of functioning. But they also, would have been exposed to senior adults who are doing well, who are thinking well, maybe professors who are actually way past time of retirement but whose minds are functioning very, very well. They may see people playing sports or functioning at the grocery store or even working now. And so college students seem to have a more balanced view about seniors. So I guess I would say at the end of that anyone's viewpoint about senior adults can be affected for the positive the more exposure they get to seniors. Well, how do we break negative stereotypes? Mainly, we have to be able to be willing to disprove these myths and to publicize them. Research exists that elders can increase their intelligence later in life. That's an example of something that I think is a myth, that senior adults can't learn more. And if I asked you, do you think that seniors, by the time that someone's 75 years old, can they increase their IQ? Probably most of us would say, I don't think so. But actually, that is not true. They can. So here are some things that we can point out to people. Elders can and do enjoy physical activity. They love and can be happy being outside and being active. They can work productively. This is very true. And they can have positive attitudes about change and learning new things. So why should we be concerned about stereotyping elders? Why even study a whole chapter about this? Why spend time? Why would I spend time giving you an exercise to go out and find, out what other people think? Because having negative stereotypes about any population polarizes us. It makes us feel apart from others, and this is true for seniors too. It allows us to, having these negative stereotypes can allow us to neglect, ignore, or devalue the aged people in our culture, in our society. and it creates fear within ourselves of our own aging. So not only are we looking outward when we're doing this study of gerontology, I hope as we have our conversations and as you do readings that you're thinking inward also about your own aging process. The last thing I'd like to say is that having negative stereotypes or even compassionate stereotypes or even positive stereotyping, any kind of stereotype about senior adults, makes it hard to promote proper and appropriate programs for aging people. And as we continue forward in our national process of dealing with the large group of senior adults that are part of the baby boom population, but also senior adults will always be a part of our population. Even after the baby boomers age out and die, we will always have seniors in our culture. And so having a more enlightened view about who they are will help us as a nation to take better care of those people and to cherish them more. All right, thanks very much.